and welcome to BizTechSuktas. I am your host, Sandeep Suryavanshi. I am the CEO of Expert Advisory. And in this podcast, we bring to you some interesting case studies and stories about technology-led business transformation. We talk to experts who have managed large transformation projects. We talk to companies who've taken large bets and successfully innovated in their business models using digital technologies. Hope that we have some fun conversations and lots of learning from our guests. Today, we have our esteemed guest, Arun Gupta, who I really call him a celebrity CIO, CTO, and a business consultant who I've known and followed for many, many years. Arun has played a CIO role across industries like shipping, for example, in Great Eastern Shipping Company, or large format retail for Shoppers Stop, logistics for DHL, and many, many more. He has also won multiple awards like Most Respected CIO in India or CIO 100 awards multiple times and many such. Arun runs his own startup too, 4242 Labs, with a great product in cybersecurity domain. But today, most importantly, we want to talk to Arun about his experience in the real estate industry. He has been a technology advisor to Shapoorji Pallonji, Kalpataru, and even the Nagpur Metro. Arun is part of Expert Advisory, and in my conversations with him, I realized that he has an insider perspective on this industry and as a business user, and it would be great for real estate CIOs and CTOs and even CEOs to learn from him the digital transformation opportunities that exist today and the huge business value they can deliver. Arun, thanks for joining us today, and I am sure our listeners would love to learn from somebody as experienced as you. So welcome to the podcast. Yeah.
So how do you want to get started? You want to ask me questions or you want me to just speak on the subject?
So I can ask you some specific questions and you can take it from there. So first of all, I think the construction and real estate industry is a capital industry, intensive industry traditionally, but from a technology perspective, not very tech friendly. With Industry 4.0 initiatives, though, we've seen that there are opportunities where even a small percentage of cost savings or increase in conversion ratio can bring a major impact in terms of dollars and rupees. What's been your experience running digital transformation projects in real estate industry? Can you talk about that?
Great. So let's start from differentiating real estate and construction.
Sure.
They are very different from each other. Construction is what creates the real estate, and they are normally different companies. The landowners or the real estate developers are largely people who own land banks, and then they decide which parcel they want to develop into what kind of a real estate model. It could be residential, commercial, mixed use, or anything at all, right? So they have a very different set of dynamics and they have a very different set of dimensions that they look at. On the other side, when you talk about construction is all about, okay, somebody wants to develop a land parcel. I will come in, I will help you build it. You could have a starting point to say the developer or the builder already has a plan on what they want to do. They have already engaged in an architect to do the design, the elevation and everything else, to say how many stories, how many, whatever. And then they ask for EPC companies, as they are called, to bid for it. To say, okay, who can give me this particular model with quality, with time and cost? And please remember, these are the three critical elements that every builder looks at. So does the EPC company, because any overrun on either of them has a significant impact on the profitability, especially for the EPC company, not so much for the real estate developer, but for the EPC company, which typically operates on very low margins. This is very, very critical. So let's first focus on the real estate part of the business. The development of different types of properties is a function of what is the market demand at that point of time, and what is a potential upside to the builder as the building starts progressing. So if you have seen various newspaper ads and campaigns that you are exposed to, people will announce a property. This is a launch. Launch means there's nothing on the ground except barren land. Yeah, and they will say, okay, this is where we are going to build something. They will show you a mock model in the sales office or on the computer. It could be a simple thing that you see on your laptop screen, or it could be a 3D model where you can walk through and all of those kind of things. And that is where typically they are looking for investors, not necessarily people who will buy and live there. Of course, there are, I would say if you divide that segment, you'll probably find in the early stages, the first 20-30% bookings are always investors. Sometimes it happens even pre-launch.
Yeah.
It's more like a private placement of the property that happens, and that typically ends up being the fund which is used to start the construction.
Right.
Because you already have the land and now you want to start construction, you need money to get started. So the pre-sale that happens, which is the private placement, which normally goes at a discount to what would be the normal market price. And the discount varies from 10 to 30% depending on the property, depending on the builder, depending on the kind of people they can attract. And that is where the starting of a project happens. Now, once you start selling a project, you start doing the construction. But before we get into construction, let's see how the cycle works for the builder. So the builder progressively keeps on selling different parts of the property. It's very rare that they will say the entire building is up for sale initially. They will do it gradually. You either probably start from the top floor or from the bottom floor, and they will keep on releasing inventory into the market slowly and steadily. This is to make sure the price does not drop dramatically. Suddenly, when there's a huge availability in the market, of course, then it becomes a buyer's market. People will negotiate, people will not buy. And you're not the only person developing a property in that area. So you could be competing with various other builders. So that is the strategy which is played by everyone. Of course, nowadays, everyone is focusing more on premium. So the moment you attach a tag called premium, obviously people are expecting something better. People are willing to pay a better price, especially the younger population today, which is the largest buyer of real estate today. They want something good because for most of us in India, it's a lifetime buy. We rarely buy multiple properties.
Right.
Of course, dynamics change as you grow older, as you do better in your job or in your business. You may want to invest more in real estate, but for a 60 to 70% of the target population, it is only one house that they will ever buy in their entire lifetime.
Right.
So they always want to be looking at the reputation of the builder, the on-time completion history that the builder may have. They look at various other amenities nearby. So if you see nowadays, most builders are developing townships versus just individual buildings, because those things matter to a person who's buying. They want a hospital, they want a school, they want parks, they want gyms, everything. And I can see that in the next generation, like my kids and their peers, they're all looking at a lot of these kind of amenities before they make a decision on what they're going to buy. And every builder has to keep a track of what's happening in the surrounding areas and then decide what is it that they would offer, which also is visible in the velocity with which they are able to sell.
Right.
As an example, one of the builders whom I had approached for my son, we went on a weekend and said, okay, we would like to buy this property. And we'll probably come back next week. Next week when we went back, the property was no longer available.
Right.
Yeah, so there because it was a great property, and people, I'm sure nobody will hold anything for you unless you already made a commitment, made a payment to that. So the real estate industry is currently on the rise after various ups and downs that have happened in the past, especially now that you're seeing a lot of the gig economy making a difference to what people have as discretionary income. So one of the investment opportunities for most of them is also real estate. I also hear conversations around generating assets for passive income and those kind of things. And so builders really have it good right now. I do know that a lot of them are sitting on inventory, unsold inventory, and that is probably a way of making sure the price stays where it is. Do not dilute the proposition for that particular building. So where is technology making a difference to the builder industry? I think starting point is when you develop any land, the kind of building that you can create, you do 2D modeling, 3D modeling, structural analysis. All of that is necessary to decide how high, how wide, how tall, keeping in mind the various rules and regulations that would be applicable to a particular city or suburbs. We have a unique concept called FSI. So FSI determines how much you can build and what you can build, and then there are various other aspects come in where people are always looking at building more in the same place. So transfer of development rights, or TDR, is another one that needs to be managed. It all impacts profitability of your product, of your final building, and that is where every builder keeps on monitoring these various KPIs at every stage of the building. So starting point, like I said, technology is used to decide the building, to look at stability of the building, earthquake proof, and all of those things that you would want to promise. What would be the budget per square foot that you would develop, which also then decides at what price you can sell. Now, cost of construction widely varies. The range is almost, let's say, example, 2,000 rupees a square feet to 5,000 rupees a square feet, depending on what kind of building you're creating. And you obviously can't build a 5,000 square feet in a low cost area because nobody will buy it. So those are all dynamics that decide how the industry will decide what kind of structure needs to come up there. Next comes the sales process, where almost every mid and large size builder using a CRM system to track inquiries, to do pitches into the market. So there's a marketing, and then there is a pull that you're getting based on the marketing. So you qualify each and every lead, you keep following up. I bought my last house many years back, but I still get calls from that builder to say, are you interested in another property? Would you like to upgrade? And those kind of things. So you want a 2 BHK? Do you want to buy 3 BHK now? Right? So, and they also interestingly facilitate the sale of the old one and the buy of the new one, because that's how they see an upsell happening.
So they're trying to maintain a relationship, build a customer client community based on a CRM.
Yes, they also ask for references and those kind of things quite regularly. Not that there's any payback to that, but it's more of saying, okay, you like this place, would you like to refer your friends? So CRM is an important part, and then comes the construction. During the construction process, the builder needs to track the construction company on how are they doing with respect to time, with respect to cost. Quality, of course, is assumed to be non-compromisable. So every day, week, month of overrun is a cost, because the EPC company normally hires labor on a day-to-day basis. They may have a standard pool, but then over and above that, depending on the stage of development of the building, they keep on adding and subtracting resources.
Right.
A different kind of resources you need when you're doing the beams and columns versus when you're doing the brickwork versus when you do plaster or interior fittings. They're all different skill sets. One person cannot do all of them, right? So every day that you delay is additional cost to the EPC company.
Mm.
They will obviously, depending on the contract, want to pass it on to the builder. But at least what I have observed from both sides of this table, it is not an easy conversation.
Right.
The only possible acceptable clause is if anything goes wrong with the regulator.
Mm.
So suddenly the municipal corporation says this building has certain parts which are illegal.
Right.
Or there's a new development happening. For example, the new airport coming up.
Right.
Suddenly some buildings do not have the same level of permissions that they had earlier.
Yeah.
So whoever built it now is in a problem because they've got to cut down the floors. And who was not built suddenly realizes economics is not working out.
Yeah.
So those are the only exception conditions in which there is some bit of a give and take, but otherwise, in a normal scenario, it's only give by the EPC, take by the real estate company. But on a day-to-day basis, there is a monitoring that happens of the construction. There's a report that goes out to the real estate company on, again, depending on the governance, decided weekly, fortnightly, or monthly to say this is what you have achieved, this is what is happening. And that is how the entire relationship between the two works.
Right.
Until the building gets ready, and then there's a handover process which starts. Most, again, mid and large size real estate companies nowadays also have facilities management companies that they have created to take care of the building after the construction companies hand it over.
Right.
And a builder is expected to maintain the society and the premises and the building for normally a period of 2 years, within which they have to hand over the building and the society to the owners,
Right.
which is what is called the conveyance part of it. Of course, reality is very different.
Yeah.
There are tens of thousands of buildings where the conveyance has not been passed because of this. A benefit to the builder for not passing conveyance. There is RERA which is trying to change that, making sure that the builders don't continue to enjoy that benefit of not handing over, because what happens is whenever there's a FSI increase, the builder gets a benefit. The residents don't because they don't own the land as yet. That is the conveyance part of it. Now, I'm not getting into the standard financial modeling, accounting, which every company does, because including real estate. But then right now, this market is still evolving the services for the premises. There's still not significant technology used there. People still log calls on a register or on nowadays WhatsApp, groups that get created for each building for problems, issues. There's a new segment emerging where there are third-party apps which allow
MyGate and MyAdda and those kind of things.
Yes, so MyGate is one, My Neighborhood is another one. No Brokerhood also has their own app. So this is a mushrooming scenario where the community building happens at the same time. There's a benefit to the residents as well as the builder. Some of them also allow you to do financial transactions, pay maintenance bills, collect rental, everything else.
So Arun, from the value chain perspective, I mean, in all of these businesses, you have outlined the complete process of planning a building to construction to really occupying the building, using it. I mean, which areas do you see are the really low-hanging fruits from a technology implementation perspective? I mean, we've seen it could be faster sales conversion using AR, or it could be, say, maybe home automation to just develop a much better home product or a corporate office product. Or it could also be something like using IoT to track your high-cost equipments, savings from there, avoiding material wastage, maybe again from tracking utilization of wastage. Or the other big, well, I wouldn't say big cost, but potential saving of manpower productivity by staff and labor utilization tracking. All these are possible things, but which of these are really low hanging for this industry?
Wonderful set of questions. Before I really answer them, let me take you to the first part of your question. What is it that the real estate industry can do to capture value from digitalization, right? The obvious one is CRM, where it can help you better manage or track your prospects.
Right.
Or if you have an outreach program, it helps you understand who is a potential buyer and what are they likely to buy. Let's look at the next segment after that. When you create a building or when you decide the structure, you need to know how much cement, how much steel, how much of rethi or everything else that will go into the construction.
Right.
There is estimation that happens. In almost every builder's office, there's a large estimation department.
Right.
99% of them use Excel or a spreadsheet of some kind
Right.
to do their estimation based on past data, and they keep on refining it. They keep on taking daily rates of some of those material to decide, okay, how are we doing, what is happening. Unfortunately, those estimates still use to a large extent rule of thumb.
Okay.
They are not very, very scientific because there are multiple types of raw material that goes into building the structure. Different types of cement, different types of gravel, different types of curing process that is required, the type of steel you will use, the type of strengthening that you would do in terms of piling, foundation, etc., etc. There are solutions available which will do this out of the box.
Okay.
They are estimation solutions for the real estate industry. They are used extensively, I know, globally. In India, they are beginning to make some headway. Still a long way before people actually get into software-based estimations. And that itself, if done well, can easily shave 3 to 4% of your cost. And 3 to 4% on 1,000 crore build structure is a lot of money. From the estimation, you also get into modeling. So everyone understands 2D modeling, 3D modeling. Okay. The model, when attached to the estimation that you have done, and if you use layers within your modeling solution, you know exactly how much of pipe I'm going to use, how much of electrical, where is it going to pass through, is there any interference between the water pipes and the sewage pipes versus electrical and plumbing and everything else. This is a great movement which is happening slowly and steadily.
Right.
The software has probably been around for 10 years. But the adoption has been very, very slow. One, because people did not understand it. Second, people did not really know how to create the leverage out of it.
Right.
I got exposed to this technology, which is called building information modeling, almost 7-8 years back, courtesy of one of my customers, where the CEO comes and tells me, I want to do BIM. And he didn't know what BIM is, but he said, I want to do BIM. And then he added, I want to do 5D BIM. And I said, sure, let's talk about what do you expect to get out of it. And he gave me those 3 simple tenets to say it has to be on cost or lower. It has to happen at the deadline, faster than that, and no compromise on quality. That's wonderful. These are standard business processes. We will try to figure out how to make it happen. So up to 3D was the easy part. Then comes the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. And in a 5D building information modeling. There's a sixth and the seventh also, which got added about 4 or 5 years back. We'll probably talk about it later if time permits. But if during the construction phase or during the modeling, you have already decided the time series with which it will happen and what's the budget it is going to use, now when you do your monitoring, you know on day 30, plinth 1 was supposed to get done. In this, we would have used so much of material, and this is the time it should have taken.
Right.
Of course, quality checks are happening every day, every week by the supervisors, by the people from the builder. There's an audit that happens. But this is something now you know is predictable.
Mm.
And if it is predictable, you can monitor it better.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier Nagpur Metro as one of my customers. Nagpur Metro was the first government entity in Asia Pacific to implement this solution.
Oh, okay.
And when they built Nagpur Metro, using this building information modeling, they got a huge amount of benefit. And the biggest benefit is that after the metro has gone live, I know exactly in my drawing where is what, each and every layer. So it is creating a huge advantage on maintenance,
Right.
or what you typically call operations and maintenance, O&M, has been a huge benefit because I know exactly what to fix, where to fix.
So your as planned is actually changed in process to reflect as built.
Absolutely.
So that the actual maintenance is much more easier. Great.
So the as built and the plan has to match,
Yes.
which does not always happen.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Always variations, right? And for the builder, for anyone at all who's managing that building, it's a huge benefit, right? So building information modeling is being now also adopted by some of the large builders because they realize and understand the benefits. They also are educating their EPC companies to adopt the same model. Some of the large companies are already beginning to adopt it. They were doing it earlier also, but they were doing it for projects outside of India where it was more prevalent, but now they are beginning to do that in India also. And that is a huge opportunity for the real estate industry. If done well from the beginning, from the concept to the end of execution, the benefit can be as high as 10%. 10% on time, 10% on cost. That's a promise that this set of solutions offers. It's not one product, it is multiple products that combine to give you this solution.
Right.
So what, you have your own financial accounting system where you would have done the budgeting. That budgeting information flows into the system.
Right.
You have time plan that you may have done on Excel, Microsoft Project, Primavera, or whatever that solution might be. It integrates with that. It also has its own way of doing it,
Right.
but you don't necessarily have to use that if you don't want to. So you integrate that with the building information model. And the moment you have done that, you already know how it's going to go. Now, on the estimation side, there's also a set of solutions which are available for simulation.
Right.
Okay. So you can continue to do simulation based on the pace of project to see, am I doing good, am I not doing good? So the simulation will tell you on day 250, this is where you should have reached.
Right.
And you can actually track it against the progress to say, are we doing okay, not doing okay? The simulation interestingly helped the railways in making sure alignment happens of the tracks.
Right.
Because when you're building from one side and you start building from the other side, you don't want them to go like this. They have to match. And those can be expensive mistakes which have happened multiple times in the past in all kinds of projects.
Right.
What I'm talking about is more of linear assets where alignment is very, very necessary. In a building, it matters to a large extent, but it's not that critical to say, okay, oh my God, suddenly my second floor and third floor are not matching, right? So
Right.
those things rarely happen.
Yeah.
So coming back to the building information modeling, that is one big opportunity for the real estate industry. Beyond that,
In this, I just wanted to quickly check with you. So one of the huge business problems, I guess, the real estate industry would have is also about cash flow management and tracking collections.
Yeah.
Part of the same problem. Does this help in that in any regard?
if your collection in a building under construction is linked to stages of development,
Right.
it does help because it tells you at which stage the building is in right now.
Right.
It's auditable.
Okay.
And it can create triggers into your financial accounting system to start sending out collection notices to say, this particular payment is due now, please make your payment. So there's an advantage to that extent. But having said that, the collection process is, again, a very different animal, the way you run it, right?
But at least you know. I mean, the point is about, are you in a red zone or an orange zone? If you're aware of that, you don't get surprised at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the end-to-end mapping happens.
Yeah.
Your collection finally will be as good as your
collection
team and the relationship you have with your customer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how strong a brand you are and the way you manage your collections.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least in most places, I haven't really seen collection being a problem, barring the small builders.
Yeah.
But most of the large ones don't really have this as a challenge.
So in terms of, if you look at the business challenges that you've seen, where have been, say, what as trends for the next 2-3 years? What kind of successful bets can real estate companies, construction companies make in the next 3-4 years? BIM, obviously, you said one, but any other?
I think home automation is a big one, which is beginning to show itself, especially in the premium properties.
Right.
Not so much in the mass, but I think mass is a very different segment where most builders don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
They're leaving it more for the government to focus on it. Having said that, home automation can be in many, many ways. Starting with access into the building. If every resident has an access card, which is old technology, or on the mobile code that they can scan and get access, kind of a thing, or any other way of getting there, face recognition, whatever you want to call it, all options exist. You have taken care a lot about the safety and the security of your residents, which is paramount to everyone today.
Right.
The second comes the good automation, to the extent energy saving, water saving, right? So simple tips. How do you do energy saving? You can have motion sensors in the common areas of the building. Okay, you can have a very dim light, which is always there, but the rest of the normal light comes on only when somebody's in the place.
Right.
And over a period of a year, in a mid-sized building, you could save up to ₹1 lakh just by doing that.
Okay.
So that is one way of looking at automation. When you get inside the house, then again, there's a different levels of automation in terms of, again, starting with security, then getting into smart lighting, smart temperature control, smart water management, smart waste management. Right? There are many, many options to do that. And At least some of the premium properties I have seen in recent times, they are beginning to do all of these things. Of
It's a
course,
standard product as it comes from builders.
yeah,
Doing all of these
it
things.
has evolved. So
True.
today you get a lot of smart ACs as an example, which you never had in the past. Not until 3 years back, there were no smart ACs per se, which you can control from your app and all of those things.
Right.
Everything is nowadays Google or Alexa enabled.
Yeah.
Of course, at a premium level, not at the mass level, but
Right.
yes, you can buy those kind of products and integrate them into your house.
Yeah.
Again, some of the developed markets are ahead of that in that curve. We are catching up pretty fast. It was more of the demand and the supply, who comes first. So
Yeah.
the supply came and suddenly demand is so high, they are outselling those smart devices faster than the normal devices.
Right.
And what else? I think automation is limited to your imagination. Today, everything is possible. The technology exists. It's a matter of how you want to use it. One of the things that I saw in a condo in the US, they had put cameras in some rooms depending on the need of the buyer. And why had they put cameras? Just for elderly management.
Right.
Say, even when you are not at home and your parents or whoever is there at home who's elderly needs to be taken care of, you can monitor them through your app. And again, with built-in triggers to say, okay, if suddenly there's a rush movement, it will send out an alert. It could be a fall or it could be something unusual happening.
Yeah.
So smart homes are also enabling taking care of people.
Right.
Especially, and this is a need of the hour, especially as the aging population increases.
Yeah.
It is going to be very, very important to have some of these optional safeguards available. They are optional again. You may do it, you may not do it. I know a friend of mine who has installed cameras to see how the maid is behaving with the child. Because the husband and wife are working, and they keep on monitoring the maid and the child's well-being, being fed, not being fed, all of that. Right? People do it for theft also, to protect against theft, but these are more use cases emerging now. So I think beyond home automation, it is all about energy conservation. How do you build smart buildings where you don't necessarily need too much of internal lighting, how much of internal cooling or heating that needs to be done. In India, we don't have too many scenarios where heating is required, but cooling obviously is a huge energy consumption. How do you create buildings which don't necessarily use so much power? So that's again a segment where people go for LEED certification of the buildings.
So Arun, in terms of our peers, in that sense, CIOs or CDOs, Chief Digital Officers of real estate companies, what advice would you have for them? What do you see that they would be facing as challenges, and what advice would you have for them to be successful?
So based on my limited experience, I would say invest in tools where you can create a business impact, and some of them we talked about earlier. Automation is good, but be pragmatic about what you're trying to automate. Example being, one of the properties that a friend of mine bought, even after he made the payment, he still gets dunning letters.
Oh.
I haven't made the payment. So obviously the CRM system is not talking to the financial accounting system. And that pissed him off. He went out and
absolutely.
Social media talking about the builder. It's not good for your reputation as a builder. Not that one small incident will significantly dent your reputation, but slowly it adds up. And why even have one? Right. The second part of it is when you look at ROI, and this is a conversation that happens in every industry, including the real estate industry, more so in the real estate industry. find ways of not just looking at a direct financial impact.
Right.
So if I, let's say, bought this wonderful solution called BIM, okay, which is multiple technologies put together, do I do it all at once or do I do it one at a time?
Hmm.
There are pros and cons to both. That will probably need another couple of hours to discuss.
Sure.
But how quickly will you get a return? So if you take one building, let's say, which costs 100 crores to build, will you recover your cost in that one building? The answer is yes, you can, if you do it well. But the building takes minimum 24 to 30 months to get built. So what is your ROI? 3 years. But you have put it only across one project.
Right.
No builder does one project at a time. They're doing multiple projects. Now, when you start looking at it, your payback period can be much quicker. So if I'm doing 5 projects at the same time, across the 5 projects, I can probably recover my cost in less than 12 months.
Okay.
And beyond that, it is only going straight to your bottom line.
Yeah.
So ROI is a good measure, but not a good measure when looked at it in isolation.
Right.
What about sales? How do you measure effectiveness of a CRM as an example? Is it cost of doing business, or is it something that will give me a wow and a ROI? At least now in 2022, I would say it's cost of doing business. If you don't do it, you'll probably be struggling with unsold inventory. You'll probably be wondering, do I finish this building or do I keep it hanging for some more time? Because I've only recovered 50% of my cost, or 50% of the building is sold, in which case I've recovered my cost, but I haven't made any money out of it. So CRMs make a big difference. Your ability to connect and sell. Of course, unless you are a builder like the top 5 builders in the country, where it doesn't matter what you build, it gets sold.
Right.
So it's all sold on reputation. You put one ad in the newspaper, you'll have thousands of people calling you to say, I want to buy. Yeah. So those, but what I have again seen, almost all the big builders have already implemented those kind of solutions. I think the next layer is where there's a huge opportunity to start competing with them on an even keel.
Right.
People are not really using social media extensively to promote properties. There are many builders who do project-specific websites. That is beginning to happen now. And that's a great idea to be able to sell a project.
Right.
You can create walkthroughs, you can create simulations, you can do a host of things there, which obviously makes a huge impact to your ability to sell.
I think the client experience across the life cycle itself can really be transformed.
Of course.
Multiple technologies, I guess, are available also. But how
if you created a app for a project, and put all the buyers into that, and started showing them how your building is progressing through that app, it would be a wow for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Right from
I'll give you one more example from the retail industry.
Right.
A long time back, and even now to some extent, when people put ads, they put a QR code.
Yeah.
You scan the QR code and you know everything there is to know about whatever the ad is all about. Real estate industry has not yet done that very effectively.
Yeah.
This is augmented reality in a great way that you can use it. Yes. So far we have covered only one part of your real estate and construction, which is the real estate.
Yeah.
I think construction also needs an equal amount of time to be able to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's all right. We can have another follow-on session to talk about that industry in much more detail. But I think, so this is great learning in terms of the building information management, the 5D modeling, the benefits that can bring to this industry is really phenomenal. And thanks for sharing that with us. And it would be great to understand, the automation opportunities, kind of customer experience transformation opportunities that can be leveraged using technology. And thank you so much for sharing this with us, Arun, today. And we look forward to talking another time about the construction industry as well. So it's been a pleasure and it's been fun talking, and we'll definitely catch up again on the other industry portions as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep. Look forward.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.